She doesn't leave men. She leaves weak frames. The moment your presence stops feeling like stability, you become a convenience, kept close for attention, not respected for leadership. Most men think rejection is about looks or money. That's the lie that keeps them lazy. The real reason most men get silently disqualified is simpler: they leak emotion, they lack direction, and they negotiate their dignity for approval. They flood her with texts, explanations, gifts, constant availability. And then they're shocked when her tone changes. She doesn't announce it. She withdraws respect first. Then attraction dies behind it. Attention isn't value. Frame is. Frame is how you carry pressure. Frame is how you speak when you're tired, offended, or uncertain. Frame is the invisible structure that tells her, my life is governed. My emotions are owned. My standards are real. Without frame, everything you do becomes noise. Compliments become begging. Apologies become weakness. Vulnerability becomes instability. Even your kindness starts to feel like a tactic, because it has no backbone behind it. Look at the average man's pattern. He asks what she wants, then becomes it. He avoids conflict by abandoning boundaries. He chases clarity by over-explaining. He tries to buy security with attention. But security isn't bought, it's felt. And women feel it through consistency, decisiveness, competence, and restraint. A man who is emotionally readable is emotionally steerable. A man who is always available is always controllable. And a controllable man is never respected for long. She may enjoy your effort, but she won't anchor to your desperation. The moment she senses she's carrying the emotional weight, deciding, calming, managing, you become another task. And tasks don't create desire. They create fatigue. This isn't romance, it's hierarchy. Whoever holds frame sets the rules of respect. In that war, niceness without structure gets punished always. This is where the game flips. You stop trying to be chosen. You build a standard. You stop performing masculinity and start practicing self-command. Because the rare man isn't loud. He's solid. He doesn't threaten, he enforces. He doesn't chase, he leads. He doesn't explain himself into value, he produces outcomes until value is obvious. In this video I'm going to give you 7 needs women crave but almost no man meets consistently, not because they're complicated, but because they require discipline. Need number 4 is where most men get silently disqualified, and if you fix that one, your entire presence changes. If you're done being a placeholder, comment, rare standard. To meet what she truly needs, you must first understand what most men are actually offering, and why it fails. If your life has no structure, you can't become her structure. That's the part most men refuse to accept, because it kills the fantasy that a few lines, a few dates, a few right words will carry them. Machiavelli's world was not built on promises. It was built on perception, consistency, and leverage. Men rose and fell based on one brutal truth: people don't follow what you say you are. They follow what you repeatedly prove. Modern dating is the same court with different costumes. Attraction is easy. Most men can create a spark with charm, attention, and novelty. But sparks don't build empires. Gravity does. Gravity is what keeps her. Gravity is the quiet force of a man who is steady, decisive, competent, and governed by standards. Most men never build that. They live emotionally. They react to texts like alarms. They change their personality to keep her mood stable. They call it love, but it's just fear wearing romance. And fear has a scent. Women smell it. Respect dies when she senses you need her approval to feel real. So understand the ethical frame of this video. This is not about manipulating women. It's not about playing games or turning into a cold villain. It's about self-command. Because self-command creates security. And security creates polarity. A man who can control himself is rare. He doesn't explode to feel powerful. He doesn't beg to feel chosen. He doesn't overgive to buy peace. He leads his life, and she either fits inside the standard or she doesn't. That is Machiavellian realism without cruelty. You control your positioning. You control your consistency. You control your availability. You protect your name. You protect your mission. And you stop offering a woman your emotions as proof of love, because emotions are cheap. Any boy can feel. A man proves. He proves through calm under pressure. Through direction. Through boundaries. Through competence. Through protection. Through growth. That's why most men get replaced. They offer passion without structure, attention without standards, comfort without leadership. They can attract, but they can't keep respect. And without respect, attraction becomes temporary entertainment. So as we go through these 7 needs, don't hear them like things to do. Hear them like traits to become. Because the man who meets these needs isn't performing. He's built that way. Now we begin with the foundation, because every other need collapses without it. If she has to manage your emotions, she can't respect you. Women read nervous systems more than words. You can say, "I'm fine," with your mouth while your body screams panic, jealousy, neediness, and anger. And that instability becomes the atmosphere of the relationship. Unstable men create unstable love. Not because they're evil, but because they're ungoverned. Emotional safety is the first rare need because it's the foundation of everything else. It's the feeling that her world won't collapse because your mood collapsed. That you won't punish her with silence, explode with rage, or beg with guilt when you don't get what you want. Most men fail here. They think emotional expression is strength, so they perform emotions like a proof of love. But what she actually trusts is control. The sovereign pattern is simple: pause, observe, respond. Pause before you speak so impulse doesn't drive your mouth. Observe so you see what's really happening, not what your ego thinks is happening. Respond so your words serve an outcome, not a reaction. No impulsive arguments. No late-night paragraphs. No guilt begging. No emotional blackmail disguised as honesty. A boy demands to be understood in the heat of the moment. A man stays composed and solves. He can handle discomfort without turning it into a crisis. He can hear criticism without collapsing into defense. He can be challenged without becoming childish. Emotional safety doesn't mean you become soft. It means you become stable. Stability is masculine. It's rare. It's what makes her nervous system relax, because she senses you are not a liability. You are a leader. You don't weaponize emotion. You use emotion as data, then you act with discipline. That's why your presence feels like gravity, not chaos. And once a woman feels emotionally safe, she can stop scanning for danger and start trusting the relationship. Without that, she may be attracted to you, but she will never feel settled with you. You'll always feel like a storm she has to predict. The rare man becomes the calm center. Once she feels emotionally safe, the next need emerges: direction. A man without direction becomes a burden, not a partner. Indecisive men think they're being easygoing, but what they're really doing is outsourcing leadership. They ask, "What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? What should we be?" Then they sit back and let her drive the ship. And after a few weeks, they resent her for steering, because deep down they know they abandoned responsibility. Leadership is not domination. It's clarity. It's the calm ability to choose a direction, commit, and take the consequences without blaming anyone. A woman doesn't need a dictator. She needs a captain. The captain makes the plan. He sets the pace. He reads the weather. He doesn't panic when things get tense. He doesn't ask permission to have standards. He holds the line when emotions rise. That means you decide what you tolerate, how you spend your time, and what your relationship is building toward. You don't wing it and hope respect survives. You create structure, dates planned, boundaries stated, priorities protected, conflicts handled privately, not performed. Weak men ask permission to exist. They negotiate their spine for approval. Strong men lead with calm certainty, this is what I'm doing. You're welcome to join, but I won't shrink. And when a decision backfires, the leader absorbs it. No whining. No excuses. No blaming her for your choice. Responsibility is attractive because it signals competence. It signals safety. It signals that you can carry weight without collapsing. Direction turns her nervous system from anxious to settled, because she knows there is a plan beyond today's mood. You don't lead with loudness. You lead with follow-through. When you say you'll call, you call. When you set a boundary, you enforce it. But leadership means nothing without reliability, so the next need is consistency. Most men are consistent only when it's convenient. In the beginning they're attentive, disciplined, present. Then comfort arrives and the mask slips. Energy drops. Standards soften. Promises become, I was busy. And she starts living inside unpredictable emotional weather. Women don't fear routine. They fear volatility. They fear the man who is loving on Monday, distant on Tuesday, jealous on Wednesday, apologetic on Thursday, then repeats the cycle and calls it passion. That isn't love. That's instability. Consistency is a rare need because it's built on self-governance. It means your standards don't change with your mood. The way you speak doesn't change because you're tired. The way you handle conflict doesn't change because your ego is bruised. You show up when it's convenient and when it isn't. You keep your word even when nobody is watching. This is how trust is built, not through big gestures, but through repeatable behavior. The love bomber performs intensity early, then collapses into laziness. The steady builder moves differently. He doesn't spike and crash. He's reliable. He communicates cleanly. He doesn't disappear to punish. He doesn't return with gifts to erase disrespect. He solves the problem, then returns to normal. That normal becomes safety. And safety becomes respect. Consistency also means your rules are clear. What you tolerate is the same every day. What you refuse is the same every day. Your time is protected every day. Your mission is honored every day. You don't become a different man depending on who's in the room. Performance is inconsistent because it's exhausting. Integrity is consistent because it's simple. And that's why consistent men feel rare. Because the average man lives on emotion and appetite, but a man who can be consistent becomes a foundation. And when a woman feels you as a foundation, she stops testing you for stability and starts building with you. Consistency builds trust, but trust dies when a man has no boundaries. If everyone has access to you, you have no power. This is where most men get silently disqualified. They think being easy is attractive, so they become endlessly agreeable, over-texting, over-explaining, over-giving, apologizing first, bending plans, tolerating disrespect with a smile. They call it love, but it's bargaining. And bargaining tells her one thing: you can be moved. The moment a woman realizes you can be controlled by her mood, her silence, her tears, or her attention, respect starts bleeding out. Not because she's cruel, but because polarity dies when you have no spine. Boundaries are not rules you announce. They're standards you enforce. A boundary is you protecting your time like territory. It's you saying no without a speech. It's you leaving the conversation when it turns childish. It's you refusing to reward disrespect with extra effort. It's you being unavailable to chaos, even when chaos is attractive. Boys beg to be chosen, so they remove every limit. Men decide what qualifies, so they keep limits and watch who respects them. The rare man doesn't chase, he filters. He doesn't negotiate dignity. He doesn't explain himself into value. He acts, and his actions create clarity. This need is deeper than space. Women want to feel that you have a life, a mission, and a self-respect that does not collapse under emotion. When your boundaries are solid, she relaxes, because she senses she's dealing with a man, not a mood. And if she tests, the test becomes simple: do you stay calm and enforce, or do you panic and plead? The weak man panics. The strong man stays polite, brief, and firm. He doesn't punish with drama, he protects with distance. He doesn't threaten, he removes access. He keeps his schedule sacred. He doesn't answer bait instantly. He doesn't trade peace for proof. He can love deeply without losing frame. That's why she trusts him, not because he's perfect, but because he's governed always. Say it like a creed and live it quietly: I don't beg. I select. A man with boundaries becomes rare, but rarity must be backed by competence. Charm fades. Capability stays. Most men try to win women with talk, vibe, and intensity, then act surprised when that attraction expires. Because charm is a spark, not a shelter. Competence is what turns attraction into security. Competence is quiet authority, handling life without collapsing, solving problems without drama, building resources without begging, staying fit without excuses, learning skills without needing applause. A competent man doesn't have to announce he's strong. His life announces it. When something breaks, he fixes it. When pressure hits, he adapts. When money is needed, he produces. When his body starts slipping, he trains. When his mind gets sloppy, he tightens his routine. That competence creates a kind of trust that doesn't disappear when emotions fluctuate. Because it tells her, this man can carry weight. And carrying weight is rare. Contrast it with loud men. Loud men promise futures. They talk about plans. They sell confidence. But when a real problem arrives, they look for someone to blame. Competent men deliver. They don't talk, they execute. They don't use potential as an identity, they use results. And women feel that difference fast. It changes how she speaks to you. It changes how she introduces you. It changes how she treats your time, because she senses you are not a decorative man. You are a builder. Competence also protects the relationship from slow decay. A man who can't govern his habits becomes lazy, then resentful, then needy. A man who governs his habits becomes sharper, calmer, more valuable. That value compounds. Not in a transactional way, but in a psychological one. It creates gravity. It makes her proud, not just entertained. It makes her feel safe, not just excited. And it keeps respect alive, because respect is always tied to capability. If you want to be the exception, stop obsessing over being liked and start obsessing over being capable. Build the body. Build the skill. Build the money. Build the discipline. Because capability doesn't beg for attention. It attracts it. Competence without discretion becomes dangerous, so the next need is protection and privacy. If she feels exposed around you, she'll never feel safe with you. Protection is not just physical. Physical protection is obvious. The rare protection is social and psychological: discretion, privacy, and dignity under pressure. Most men fail here because they're emotionally undisciplined. They fight dirty when they're hurt. They leak private details to friends. They turn arguments into public theater. They post, they rant, they recruit opinions. And the moment a woman senses you're the kind of man who will expose her when you're angry, she stops trusting you. Because you become a risk. Men with low frame weaponize intimacy. They use secrets as knives. They use humiliation as control. That is boy behavior, and it kills polarity fast. A man is a vault. He doesn't gossip about his woman. He doesn't turn her weaknesses into jokes for the room. He doesn't argue in public or embarrass her to win a moment. He handles tension privately, calmly, and cleanly. He protects her name the way he protects his own. That doesn't mean you tolerate disrespect. It means your consequences are disciplined, not theatrical. You can end things without destroying someone. You can disagree without degrading. You can hold boundaries without making a spectacle. Discretion is power because it signals maturity. It tells her, this man controls his mouth, his emotions, and his impulses. He is not a liability. He is cover. He is safety. Social intelligence is part of protection too. You don't put her in humiliating situations. You don't bring her around men who disrespect her. You read rooms. You leave rooms. You don't let small disrespect become a public conflict. And when the world pressures her, your stability becomes shelter. That's the rare masculine protection women remember, not loud defending, but quiet coverage. The boy leaks details to feel important. The man keeps details private to keep trust alive. Because trust is fragile, and once it breaks, attraction becomes unstable. This is why being honest with everyone is not virtue. It's recklessness. Save honesty for the right place. Save intimacy for the protected space. Become the man who can be trusted when emotions rise. Now the final need, the one that keeps polarity alive, growth and challenge. Comfort makes men soft. Standards make men respected. Stagnation is the silent killer of attraction. Not because life must be chaotic, but because a man addicted to comfort becomes predictable, passive, and forgettable. He stops building. He stops learning. He stops training. His world shrinks into entertainment and mood. And to a woman, that feels like a slow decline in leadership. You become background noise. Need 7 is growth and challenge, the feeling that being with you elevates her life, not drags it into repetition. This isn't about criticizing her or fixing her. It's about living with a trajectory so strong that it pulls the relationship upward. A mission-first man is attractive because he has gravity. He doesn't need to chase excitement, his life is moving forward. He has discipline in his body, clarity in his mind, and purpose in his schedule. He learns. He improves. He invests in health, skill, and competence. And he challenges through standards, not insults. The weak man begs for acceptance, so he tolerates anything. He calls it love, but it's fear. The strong man elevates the relationship by elevating himself. He doesn't demand perfection, he demands growth. He doesn't shame, he sets expectations. He doesn't argue endlessly, he corrects patterns with boundaries and example. And that example becomes the challenge. When you live disciplined, comfort looks expensive. When you live with purpose, laziness becomes obvious. When you respect yourself, disrespect becomes impossible to normalize. That's how you pull her up without forcing anything. You build a life that requires standards to enter. This need creates lasting polarity because it keeps the relationship from becoming two people rotting in comfort. It keeps desire alive through respect. It keeps respect alive through trajectory. Your growth becomes her safety, because the future feels handled. And your challenge becomes her attraction, because you refuse to become ordinary. But there's a shadow side, meet needs without losing yourself. If you lose yourself to keep her, you already lost. This is where many men misapply everything you just learned. They hear, meet her needs, and translate it into overgiving, over-explaining, over-accommodating, becoming a servant wearing the mask of a good man. That doesn't create love. It creates entitlement. Because when you meet needs without frame, you train her nervous system to believe you have no standards, no limits, no spine. You become useful, not valued. Understand the difference. Provision is masculine. People-pleasing is weakness. Provision is giving from strength, with boundaries, because your life is governed and your mission is intact. People-pleasing is giving from fear, hoping sacrifice will buy loyalty. It won't, Loyalty doesn't respect desperation. Needs are not a contract where you pay attention and receive devotion. Needs are met best by a man who is already disciplined, already stable, already moving forward. So keep the hierarchy correct. Your frame comes first. Your mission stays protected. Your time stays respected. Your boundaries stay enforced. You don't tolerate disrespect to keep peace. Peace without respect is just slow humiliation. You don't abandon your goals to prove love. Love that requires self-betrayal is not love, it's control. And you don't chase a woman who is addicted to chaos by trying to become chaos for her. That is how men destroy themselves and call it romance. Meet needs, yes, but only from a position of self-command. If she crosses a line, you correct it calmly. If she repeats it, you remove access. That is the difference between a man and a servant. The man has standards, and his standards have consequences. Now we seal it with the code, the 7 needs as a creed. Boys perform. Men govern. Here is the code. Need 1, emotional safety. Your calm becomes her shelter, because you don't break under pressure. Need 2, direction and leadership. You choose the path, you carry the consequences, you become the captain, not the passenger. Need 3, consistency. Stable standards, clean behavior, no emotional weather that forces her to guess who you are today. Need 4, boundaries. No over-availability, no negotiating dignity, no being controlled by mood, access is earned. Need 5, competence. Capability that compounds, you handle life, build resources, keep your body sharp, and deliver outcomes instead of promises. Need 6, protection and discretion. You are a vault, not a gossip, you cover her dignity and protect trust even during conflict. Need 7, growth and challenge. Your mission pulls the relationship upward, and your standards keep comfort from turning you ordinary. Lock this into your identity, you are not chasing women. You are building a standard. You don't sell yourself for attention. You don't bargain for love with sacrifice. You lead a life with structure, and the right woman recognizes the gravity. The wrong woman resents it, because standards expose weakness. That's fine. You are not here to be liked by everyone. You are here to be respected by the right one. From today, you stop trying to prove your worth with words. You prove it with frame. Calm. Direction. Consistency. Boundaries. Competence. Discretion. Growth. And you keep the shadow rule, meet needs without losing yourself, because a man without frame becomes a servant, and servants don't get respected for long.